I was in a lot of pain all the time, every day, for probably 10 years. And I'd searched for many different avenues to try and sort that problem out. But long term, obviously somebody recommended to go and see Jason. You know, I'm a full-time professional bicycle mechanic, so like my body's always being used, whether it's riding, running, working, you know, and all those things were affected by what was going on in my body at the time. My experience in the clinic was the best I've ever received from anything that I've ever been to. I was quite overwhelmed by it, actually, in a very good way. It was very calming. Felt looked after for the first time. I was amazed by the X-rays, the results that it was showing me. The skin temperature things, the cortisol levels, sort of stress sort of things, and all those made a lot of sense to me. So seeing it on paper, the problems that I'd been having for such a long time, and then somebody going, here you go, this is what's happening, it all made sense to me, and nobody had ever come up with that sort of full rounded picture of what was going on, and that straight clarified that I needed to do this. Chiropractic care has helped me massively. Obviously ride my bike a lot better, but it's certainly helped my work life, just every aspect of my life, because before I were really in a lot of pain. I'd struggle to just reach down and grab something, and to be thinking 4 years ago when I started it, that was always a challenge. I was always thinking about, hang on, how's me picking that up off the floor, am I going to have problems here? And it's not something I could go, right, I'm not coming back for 6 months. And it's not that I generally always need it, but I just feel like it just, to keep that prevention sort of there and make sure I don't relapse into what I was like, many years ago. It just feels like a great environment. It just feels like part of my structured day.